Hey folks, lyarri here. Today we're reacting to Did People Used to Look Older by Vsauce. I've literally never seen a Vsauce video. I've obviously heard of how good he is. So, let's go.
Hey, Vsauce! Michael here. At the age of 18, Carl Sagan looked like a teenager. But it doesn't take long in an old high school yearbook to find teenagers who look surprisingly old. These
That's
people
true.
are all in their 20s, but so are these people. This is Elizabeth Taylor when she was just 17. And here are some high school students from the 70s. Did people used to look older? Brandon McCarthy asked on Twitter, and evidence poured in. People shared photos of their parents in their early 20s, their dad at
No way.
21, their mom at 18 or 19, their dad at 45.
Okay, personal hygiene standards have gone up, I guess, along with access, right? That would play something, I would hope. There's a reason I use moisturizer.
One user shared their husband at 27 and what his father looked like at 23. And there's pretty much an entire subculture around how old footballers looked decades ago. 24, 31, 33, 29,
No. What?
30.
Is it the camera?
29, 27. It's not uncommon to think that there's something more grown up about the way people used to be, to look back and
I guess it's also fashion styles too, right? And the hair, that obviously plays a factor.
think that people seemed
But it is
older at a younger age than they do now.
I'm
Let's
hooked.
call it retrospective aging. It doesn't happen to everyone. People do not and never have aged similarly. And there's
Yeah.
even the opposite observation that kids these days grow up too fast. But it's a popular question and subject of numerous memes. So, is it real? Or is it an illusion fueled by cherry-picked examples that
Yeah, okay.
feeds rosy
That could be it.
nostalgia for a time when people were tough and didn't have it as easy as you kids have it now? Well, as it turns out, both. Humans today really are aging more slowly than their historic counterparts. Changes in lifestyle, nutrition, smoking
Okay.
habits, healthcare, early life conditions, and skincare, particularly the use of sunscreen, are a huge part of
True.
it. By comparing measures of metabolic, cardiovascular, inflammatory, kidney, liver, and lung function across time, researchers at Yale and USC have found that we are, in fact, staying younger for longer than we used to. So does that mean that 60 is the new 50? Almost. Their results suggest that between the early 90s and the late 2000s, 60 became the new 56. 40 became the new 37 and a half, and 20 became the new 19. Oh, also, during the last century, dentistry and orthodontics have played a huge cosmetic role in the kinds of faces we see in parts of the world.
That's true.
But, interestingly, when faces in magazines are measured from the 1930s to today, the only significant change has been that across all ethnicities, the media is now exposing us to larger lips. Also, retroactive
I have
aging
large
can
lips.
occur over short time spans. When I was a freshman, the seniors in my high school seemed so old to me. But by the time I was a senior myself, I looked in the mirror and at my peers and I was like, we're them now, but we don't
Yeah.
seem as old as they did. What's going on isn't just about bodies. First of all, the seniors I looked at when I was a freshman truly were older than me at that time. They graduated and went away, and later, when I was a senior, I saw myself as I was.
It's the Boy Meets World effect. Or, oh wait, no it isn't. That's about older brothers, but whatever. Sorry.
But in my mind's eye, I saw the earlier seniors as they appeared to me when I was younger. retrospective aging seems to also be about perspective. Let's go back to this tweet. This is George Wendt playing Norm on the TV show Cheers. Now, when Cheers premiered, Wendt was indeed 34, but I looked it up, and this image is actually from episode 24 of season 5 when Wendt was 38. So we're not comparing apples to apples here. However, this is an image of George Wendt at 34, and Ashley Fairbanks made some alterations and a good point. However, here's the rub. These alterations don't make Wendt look more like a 34-year-old. They make him look more like a 34-year-old today. Similarly, giving the Golden Girls modern-day hairstyles and makeup drops their apparent age a lot. Superficial styles and mannerisms can often make not just a big difference, but all the difference, which supports the hypothesis that retrospective aging is often an illusion. Modes of self-expression are always changing. Clothing, hairstyles, accessories, makeup, mannerisms, language, body language. Now, modes can come back, but never exactly. The context is always a little bit different. And from what's available or acceptable at any one time, we each draw ways of appearing or being in the world. And even if you don't care about how you look or think about how you act, what options you even have are dictated by what's currently popular or normal or being pushed on people like you. Few of us stay at the stream, drawing what's new all our lives. For various reasons, we often wander away with our catch. Perhaps it's because we settle into an identity we're comfortable with, or fear the taboo of not dressing our age, or simply run out of time to care. But when we're gone, the stream keeps changing, and we get older and continue to use the mannerisms and styles we grabbed a while back. Eventually, to whatever those styles initially evoked, a new connotation is added. Old person. Not because the look or behavior is intrinsically for the elderly, but because those who use it, us, became old ourselves. If you want to look older, what do? Well, you can dress the way older people dress. And the thing is, that's often how they used to dress too. We think people looked older in the past because they look the way old people do today.
Yeah.
Dale Irby, a gym teacher at...
This video is like so well put together. It's such a good video essay. Like, oh my god, I get why people like Vsauce so much. I really love this.
Prestonwood Elementary School in Dallas, Texas, posed for his first yearbook photo in 1973. The following year, he accidentally wore the same outfit again.
Oh no.
He says he was embarrassed at first, but his wife Kathy challenged him to do it again. So he did.
He looks so different every year.
What he gave us is a great, exaggerated example of how what once connoted youth comes to be associated with old age.
Oh my god, like I really feel like every year you can see how like he obviously like he might like change weight every year to a degree and like gain a few pounds or lose a few pounds, but like I don't know, it's so neat. And like he doesn't like his hairstyle doesn't change too much. Like sometimes like the cut like exactly how his cut changes, or maybe like how recently he's had the haircut. But oh, he aged so good. That's cute. Sorry.
The people we keep seeing a style on get older and older themselves until we think of the style itself as being for old people. Retrospective aging, then, is double-pronged, both real and illusory. People in the past really did age faster than us because of differences in nutrition and lifestyle and medicine, but much, if not most, can be chalked up to the fact that we think people like this are dressed like old people. But that's an anachronism. They're dressed like old people from the future, the old people they would become. Has anyone ever dressed like a young person from the future? Well, it happened in 1941 at the reopening of the South Fork Bridge in Canada. A crowd came out to celebrate and photos were taken. In 2010, the photos were digitized and placed online. That's when this guy was noticed, a time-traveling hipster.
What the heck?
Why a time traveler wouldn't bother to blend in, and why, with all of history to visit, he chose the reopening of a bridge in the 40s, no one knew. The photo was
That seeing someone who actually has that style in the 40s is crazy. Okay.
confirmed to be undoctored, and researchers put forward the idea that this man was not, in fact, a time traveler. That his shirt wasn't an ironic screen print, but simply bore the logo of the Montreal Maroons, a nearby hockey team at the time. They said his sunglasses and knit sweater were not unusual for the 40s, nor was his portable camera. The only thing that was unusual about him was how casual his attire was.
I've read the Wikipedia page for hipsters before, and I remember it dates back.
And they're probably right. But this all raises the exciting possibility that someone out there right now, possibly even you, is unknowingly dressed like people in the future will. And your appearance in photos will someday freak them out.
For sure.
You know, it might be fun to start dressing even more casually or in some other odd way on the off chance that you happen to nail it and years from now you are worshipped as a time traveler. Oh, that reminds me of today's sponsor. Hi, I'm Michael Stevens. Would you like to look like you're from the future? Well, every season, those who subscribe to Vsauce's Curiosity Box receive a box full of delicious brain food that we have made that very few people have. Yet. This year, our summer box contains our Moiré illusion cards, a bunch of other things I won't spoil, and this, a Pythagorean cup. Supposedly invented by Pythagoras himself, it is widely considered the earliest known practical joke. It works just like a normal cup. Fill it up, carry it around, take a drink. Refreshing. But it punishes greed. If you pour yourself too much, the internal siphon will drain the entire contents. Greed is good, more like greed is wet. A portion of all proceeds from the Vsauce Curiosity Box go directly to Alzheimer's research. So this box isn't just good for your brain, it's good for everyone's brain. And we've got a special treat for you. While supplies last, if you subscribe to the Curiosity Box, you can choose a bundle of some of our favorite items from past boxes that we will throw in for free.
Cool.
Just pay shipping. If you're not subscribed yet,
I want one now.
I'm ready for you. With open arms
and
open neurons. Wow. Whoa!
Oh my god, that was loud. I was in science club in high school. I wasn't like the biggest science person, but like every single person in science club was definitely like Vsauce. I'm having a lot of flashbacks, or at least like all the officers and a lot of the future officers.
Who's that guy? Does he look like a Bill, a Mark, a Justin, or a Josh? Pause right now if you'd like to think about it.
Oh, okay. Mark.
According to research from Millsaps College and Miami University, this is Mark. Or at least, this is what we think people named Mark look like. By asking people to make and rate digitally created faces, researchers were able
I am literally the common person, for sure.
to put together prototypical faces for a number of different names. This is apparently what we think a Josh looks like. A Bill, a Justin, a Dan, a Brian, a Tom, an Andy. The idea that names might...
I'm sorry, I need to look at that for another second.
A Brian, a Tom, an Andy.
Okay, I like Justin's eyes. Also, Tom has interesting. What the heck are their eyes? Okay, wait. I don't know why I'm commenting on their eyes, but let's continue.
The idea that names might conjure certain face shapes in our minds isn't that strange. For example, there's Wolfgang Kohler's famous finding that when asked which of these shapes is named Booba and which is named Kiki.
Booba, Kiki. Wait, sorry. Booba, Kiki.
People of all different ages and cultures and languages overwhelmingly assign Kiki to the spiky one and Booba to the blobby one. And sure enough, it certainly seems to work with names too. Which one of these men is Tim and which is Bob?
This is Bob, this is Tim. That's what, yeah.
Well, almost unanimously people feel like this is Tim and this is Bob. But are these men actually named Tim and Bob?
No, not necessarily.
Well, there's the rub. Just because we associate certain names, certain sounds, with certain shapes, doesn't mean we're right. There's no such thing as a biological name.
And, this is actually really interesting to me because, people will tell you, you look like your name. I remember this a lot in, school and stuff. And, it was always really interesting to me, how do you evaluate that? And, that, little exercise is, really, you can evaluate it.
If a person still goes by the same name they were given as a baby, long before anyone knew what they would look like as an adult, well, surely there won't be a connection. But as it turns out, there is. Believe it or not, in a multiple choice setting, people can guess a stranger's name just by looking at their face. More often than we would expect from luck alone. It's called the face name matching effect. Here's a stimulus from Zwebner's research. Do you think this man is named Jacob, Dan, Joseph, or Nathaniel?
This one's actually a little harder for me. Joseph?
By just randomly picking a name, people should get this right 25% of the time. But Zwebner found that people picked the correct answer, Dan, nearly 40% of the time. What's going on?
I grew up in a very Jewish area. Okay. I think, wait, no, it's literally the fact that I saw with an F and not a PH that threw me off. If it was PH, I think I would have said Dan. But, yeah. I don't know why I paused for so long here.
Can names actually cause us to grow to look a certain way? Well, apparently they can. It has been called a Dorian Gray effect. In Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray, a portrait of the protagonist ages and grotesquely reflects his evil deeds while he himself remains young and pure-looking. In a similar way, it seems that in some cases, our own appearance can come to reflect the name we were given. But I kind of think it's really more of a reverse Dorian Gray effect. I mean, in the book, Dorian's reality affects the appearance of his portrait.
You can change your name.
But the face name matching effect goes the other way. An inanimate sign, a name, influences our actual physical appearance. Well, anyway, it's not news that a person's name can lead others to have certain expectations of them and treat them accordingly. It's been found, for example, that multiracial faces given European names are rated as looking more European than the same faces are when presented with non-European names. The expectations a name carries with it may create a self-fulfilling prophecy, whereby as a person grows up, they're motivated to fulfill those expectations, carry themselves in ways people think someone with their name should, and even dislike, accentuate, hide, use, and avoid different parts of their face and body depending on whether or not those parts match their name. It's been found that faces and names that match are emotionally liked more than faces and names that don't. Analysis of voting data has shown that senatorial candidates earn 10% more votes when their names fit their faces very well than when they fit very poorly. Now, with that in mind, part of the effect could literally come from the fact that although parents don't know what their kid will look like as an adult, the parents do know what they look like, and without knowing it, tend to prefer names that match their faces, which are likely to resemble their child's face as well.
This is so
But not
cool.
always. If the dissonance is too great, a person can always change their name, either completely or by simply choosing a nickname. If I had been just a little bit different, Michael, could have always gone by Mike. The fact that people can adjust their names to fit them, of course, merely strengthens the face name matching effect. By studying whether the correct name could be guessed when different parts of a face were occluded, researchers were able to develop heat maps showing which parts of the face different names are most characteristically associated with. Apparently, looking like an Anne is all about the tip of the nose. It's the bridge of the nose for Arthur's and the philtrum or snot trough for Benjamin's. Aurélies are recognized by their face spiders. Let's go back to old people. How old is an old person? 73.7. That's according to results published in the Journal of American Geriatrics last year. It's the average age people gave when asked, when does old age begin? People under 65 on average said 71.
I think like I've been relatively fortunate to have older folk in my life who, while some of them aren't like the most like active and stuff, and I mean nowadays a number of them have passed, but like my great grandmother, she lived to be like 104 or something, and maybe 99. I don't know. But the point is, like up until her like mid 90s, she seemed like she went to church every week still and was active in the church until like her 80s, and like was like a genuinely like she wasn't like a until the older age, she wasn't like kind of out there. She was like genuinely a very like nice lady who had like very like she had a lot to talk about, and like she had like very like her views shifted with the times and stuff, and it was really interesting to speak to her and like other folks in my life too also like yeah. So I definitely, but this is the thing, right? Like when you're younger, like you view older as younger. Definitely when I was like 5, 10, 8, and obviously this is 18. If you ask people younger than 18, it'd be so much lower.
And people over 65 on average said 77. Women said old age began 3 years later than
Women live longer too, though.
men did. White people said it began 8 years later than non-whites did.
Is this also because of life expectancy?
And people who felt healthy placed old age later in life than those who felt
That makes
less
a lot
healthy.
of sense. And also this, like, okay.
But how old do people want to be? Well, that depends on how old they already are. In America, the only people who are the age they would like to be are 21-year-olds. People younger than 21 wish they were older, and people
That makes me
older
feel
than
better.
21 wish they were younger. People who are 40 wish they were 30, people who are 60 wish they were 40, and people who are 90 wish they were 60. When people are asked if they could be one age forever, the average American picks 36, which is actually how old I am right now, funny enough. Here's something else that's funny. Old people are more likely to think they dream in black and white. Not because it's part of the aging process, but because
It's how they grew up. Watching black and white TV. I didn't mean that it was black and white back then. Or did I?
they are veterans of the great black and white dream epidemic of the 20th century. Prior to the 1900s,
Wait, I'm right.
Aristotle, Descartes, Freud, everyone who wrote about the topic reported that dreams contained color. But as humanity moved into the 20th century, the number of people reporting color in their dreams dropped just as quickly as the popularity of new black and white movies and TV rose.
Oh my god, I was right.
By the 60s, As color TV and movies became more and more common, reports of colored dreams started going back up. And today, people who grew up with black and white TV continue to report more black and white dreams than those who didn't.
I think my grandpa like dreamed in black and white. I'm pretty sure I remember him mentioning this to me. Like, it wasn't all the time, but
And
yeah.
later studies across China found the same thing. The frequency of black and white dreaming correlated strongly with how common black and white TV was in a person's area. So, did black and white movies and TV literally change our dreams? Well, first of all, it's not clear whether dreams themselves actually changed or if people just started thinking differently about their dreams.
Oh.
We're trying, but we still haven't found a way to get direct access to dream content. Eric Switchable has pointed out that as far as we know, dreams may not be in color or black and white, or sepia or anything. They may be primarily indeterminate in color as
That's
they happen,
fair.
and only later, during recall, do we confabulate details about color. He compares dreaming to reading. Is a novel in color or black and white? As you read a story, what do you see in your mind? It might be the case that dreams, vaporous as they are something we simply have a terrible grip on, and that movies and TV shows have given us the illusion of understanding them. In fact, Switchable has speculated that smells and touch sensations are rare in dreams today, but future people with smelly, touchy-feely VR shows might think that they dream with lots of textures and odors and find it strange, maybe even frightening, that few of us seem to. But why would we think that dreams were like moving pictures and not normal waking life? Well, no one knows. It might be that motion pictures are just simply the closest thing we have to dreaming that isn't dreaming.
I should
Unlike
mute my mic
still
when I do that.
images, paintings, photographs, tapestries, motion pictures and dreams can contain movement and narrative and cause and effect. And unlike stage plays or real life, motion pictures and dreams are not made of anything that is even remotely similar to what they depict. They're both made of phantoms. Images are uncanny things. A person in an image is frozen in time, but yet can seem to grow old. Our own image can depend on what we are called, and they're the closest thing we have to what our mind does when we're away. Do you get the picture? Or does the picture get you?
Oh my god.
And as always, thanks for watching.
Sorry, I don't wanna. Alright. That was so good. Okay, no! So close. Okay, but that was such a good video. Yeah, like, I sorry, that was so interesting. I don't even know what to say. Like, I feel like I said so much during it that basically that's enough. Nothing slaps harder than when that Vsauce theme kicks in. But true. That's what I've learned. As a fashion student throughout most of history. Oh, this is what I was wondering if he would directly mention. As a fashion student throughout most of history, people wanted to look grown up, mature. They dressed and wore styles, emphasized "I am mature," or were dressed in miniature versions of adult clothing, certainly for portraits and photos. That shifted drastically in the youthquake of the 60s, and suddenly everyone wanted to look younger. Yeah, like, I very clearly dress, I feel like, most of the time in, like, ways that try and make me look younger. And that's, like, it's part of the reason why I got bangs. Like, it makes me look younger, and I like to look more. I think it fits my face better, too. I grew up in the 60s and 70s with a perky girl name, often associated with a best friend / girl next door image. However, I have always been, and looked like, a hippie / librarian, lol. I did change the spelling of my first name slightly, just to be a bit different than from the other three girls in my class with the same name. Also, if I had to pick a particular age to freeze at, I would have to say around 40. And it was the best time of my life except for my finances. I do love my stage of life now, 60 besides the physical ailments. Well, I'm still a little sick, so I'm not going to read as many comments as usual, but I like these comments. When I was 18, I sometimes was mistaken for my sister's mother. People often guessed me to be more around 27, but once I reached about 23, it reversed and people thought I was younger than I was. I'm now 63 and people guess me to be in my 40s. Weird. My mom says the same sort of reversal happened to her too. She's 94 and people think she's in her 70s. However, when I look at pictures of her at 18, I would have guessed her to be more around her late 20s or even 30s. I picked all of the same names and the shape name too. Yep. Funny story, we were in a store when my 3-year-old son suddenly exclaimed, "Look, it's Grandpa's short shirt." Oh, a Grandpa shirt. I was looking around where he was pointing for a Grandpa shirt. Turned out it was a football jersey. My dad frequently wears a jersey. That, yeah, my dad and my grandfather both, like, mostly my dad wore like a ton of like, oh, wears a ton of like, not as much anymore, but sorry, point is a ton of football t-shirts. And I think like my grandpa did a little bit but not as much, and like sports stuff in general, and like that's definitely like, I feel like that's not something you see as much anymore. It's like when you were 7, 1 year is literally 1/7 of your life. Yeah, time feels like it takes longer when you're older. Does this guy realize how much his generation? I will say, I'm going to show this guy the Vsauce to my little sister because I do think like she'd be really into this. That's cool. This is so true. I showed her summoning salt and she was like staring at the TV the whole time. I think it's mostly a mixture of the old fashioned trends making people look older, whereas nowadays everyone's obsessed with clinging to an appearance of youth. The differences in photography. Sorry, I randomly started thinking of my little sister, like, she gets this, like, curious look on her face where she's like, when she's thinking about something, like, when it's, like, on the tip of her tongue. Oh, she's 6. The differences in photography slash film slash lighting and maybe a touch of people don't go outside as much nowadays thrown in as well. Not to mention that with so much casual photography possible with smartphones, the sample size is larger, and that sample size is more readily able to favorably alter the way they look prior to taking pictures, rather than just having a random photograph to discover decades later. Yeah, the differences in like how the picture's taken and the quality, yeah, that's important. Fashion trends, people not going outside does change, like it makes you age slower. And casual photography. These are all. This is actually a really good comment. It's a great summary of like even something I don't think Vsauce directly touched on in the video. All right, this is so true. I saw a girl on the street the other day in full 70s garb. She was clearly a Gen Z kid, but the way she dressed in her psychedelic dress with her hair parted down the middle and pinned straight, as well as the glasses she wore, she looked so old compared to her friends she was walking with. She reminded me of how teenagers in movies from the 70s and 80s looked to be in their 30s. It wasn't anything to do with her natural appearance, but just my perception of the clothes she was wearing that made me think she looked old. Yeah, clothes can really change a lot. I'm someone who like naturally like wears a decent variety of clothing. Like I wear more like I try to generally like I wear a more limited style on stream than off stream just because like I feel like certain things just look better on stream. Um, but yeah, it's cool. Like I feel like having that level of control over how you're perceived is really neat. Um, I think there's a little bit of a bias in the how old would you like to be question. Yeah, yes. Because of the whole, yeah, sorry, I just, I'm just going to summarize the rest of it. It's like younger people want to be independent. There's different reasons that younger people want to be older than older people want to be younger. It's not, younger people aren't looking to be 21 because they want to be like if you're 19, you're probably about as strong as you're going to be when you're 21, like naturally, roughly. I don't know. I mean, I know you're still developing, but you get what I'm saying. Anyways, this is a really long react. Oh my god, it actually is. I just looked at the recording. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye, folks. Hey folks, thank you so much for watching. Remember to like the video, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Twitch, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.